Some days just getting through life or the day itself is the victory. We could ask for no more than that, right? You're carrying everyone else's world on your shoulders, work deadlines, family needs, the mental load that we women carry, it never stops. And then somehow you're supposed to find the same energy or an additional set of energy left over to optimize your life, to level up, to glow up, whatever the new catchphrase is. But when productivity gurus online talk about just hustle harder or find your why, it feels all well and dandy, but it's like they're speaking a language you don't even recognize anymore. So what if productivity wasn't about doing more? What if it was more about creating a space for you to breathe while you can still honor and respect what matters to you most in the moment of this season? So I want to share something different with you. It's a way to move through your days that's grounded more in faith and respects your actual capacity. Not where you hope to be, wish you could go back to, but the actual capacity you encompass today. And it creates a rhythm that sustains you instead of just draining you. Sounds like a plan, right? Okay, so I'm calling it the farmer method, Farmer. And if you're a woman in this season where you have to hold it all together while trying not to lose yourself or your mind, this conversation is for you. Let's go be brave. When everything feels like it's coming at you at once, don't reach for the to-do list first. I want you to think differently. Remember, we're going to set our intentions, okay? I want you to ask yourself this one question. What's the one thing I want to feel good about when I lay my head down tonight? Just one thing that would make you feel like you showed up for what matters in your life. When you have that, then from there, you're sort of working backwards. Then you set the intention to accomplish whatever that might be. This is to release some of that productivity pressure and put focus more so on your intentions of alignment with, where you want to go, where you want to be. Maybe you're returning back to a feeling of yourself. We have this saying, actions are judged by intention. So you might not check off every box each day, and it's okay. That's perfectly fine. No one expects that of you. But if you started with the right heart focus, if you moved with purpose instead of a sense of panic and overwhelm, that's always going to be enough. It's just about us accepting it as enough, but it's always going to be enough. So listen, productivity doesn't mean that you begin with a perfect planning like we might think or like we've been accustomed to thinking. It begins with remembering who you are, why you're here, and that you don't need to finish everything to be faithful to, whatever it is you want to focus on and achieve. It's one intention held close to your heart, meaning it's you found a space where it makes sense and it's meaningful to you, and you move with that sincerity. That carries more blessings than if you had 10 tasks done, but all the while you're holding on to resentment and you're stifling your own progress with that negative energy that you're holding on to. You know what happens when you're just trying to survive? We stop seeing ourselves clearly. We have no choice. Our mind is focused. We push, we perform, we get things done, but somewhere along the way we disappear in all of the doing. That's the moment where we need to pause and assess. Not to judge ourselves, but to actually see ourselves in the moment. We have to ask ourselves tough questions like, where am I feeling the most stretched? What is stretching me thin right now? Where do I need to be gentler to myself? That's a big one we don't ask ourselves very often. We're not machines. You're not responsible for everything, and you're not a list of responsibilities. You're a whole human being with a heart that needs tending to, a body that needs rest, and a spirit that needs nourishment. When you take even 30 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, check in with yourself without the criticism, without the harsh inner voice that's always on replay, you're not being selfish, you're not wasting your time, you're not slowing yourself down, you're practicing what's called self-compassion. Yeah, we've got all about that one, self-compassion. We're actually commanded to show mercy to ourselves. We're the ones that most times are not listening well. Awareness isn't about having it all figured out. That's not what being aware is. It's about showing up with the kindness, for where you actually are and respecting that timing, respecting that season. You don't need to fix everything today. You don't need even to fix everything tomorrow. Sometimes just acknowledging, I need a break. I'm tired. This is hard. This is a challenging moment for me. Those are all breakthroughs. Consider them breakthroughs, because you know if there's a breakthrough, there's triumph and achievement and success on the other side. So I want you to do that small moment of honest recognition. That's where we're going to start healing those misconceptions we have about being busy and productive. Let me tell you what routines look like when you're just trying to keep your head above water. They're not internet worthy. They're not aesthetic. They're not happening at 4 and 5 a.m. unless that works for you. There's no perfect lighting and everything is matching. No, real routines in survival season are about coming back to yourself, not putting on a show. It's just bare bones. Maybe it's that first sip of tea by the window or your favorite spot in the morning before everyone wakes up and you know all the busyness hasn't begun yet. Maybe it's just taking 3 deep breaths in your car before you walk into your office. Maybe it's saying, thank God, alhamdulillah, while you're folding that never-ending pile of laundry. You know, simple, basic life, everyday things. These small acts don't look like much from the outside to anyone else, but it matters to you. And when everything else feels chaotic and just sort of not within your control, these little moments become your lifeline back to who you are underneath all of the doing, all of the busyness, all of the handling, everything. The point is, it's not about the perfect moment or being perfect in and of yourself. To have something that reminds you you're still here, like yourself, where you feel comfortable, you feel calm, you're still trying, and that's all that matters pretty much. That's really all that matters in those moments. There are no bells and whistles that need to be a part of it. It's about what's going to bring a smile to your face, a happy thought. You don't need a routine that's impressive to anyone else. It doesn't have to be a highlight reel. You need one that just resets your soul. It serves your spirit and makes you feel somehow better, even the littlest amount. Something simple that says, this is me taking care of me. This is me remembering who I am beyond what everyone needs from me at the moment. It's keeping it small. It's keeping it sacred and sustainable. That's where we're going to find our real power to live in ourselves as we want to live. Let your routine serve your peace, not your ego for, wow, that's, you saw this online and it really looks impressive. Many of the things we see online, however, they don't often end up making their way into our lives on a regular basis because it really just doesn't make sense. Maybe our lives aren't as, set up and, as the way it would be most conducive to have this routine. But you might take pieces of it. Okay, great, fantastic. Take those pieces that work, create something that's sustainable. You're allowed to keep it simple, okay? You're allowed to keep it sacred, and you're allowed to keep something that's sustainable for your life at the moment. When you're carrying the weight of the world, or what seems like the weight of the world, on your shoulders, on your back, it's easy to think you have to wait for the perfect moment to make progress. When you have more time, more energy, when the stars align, when everyone leaves you alone for 5 minutes. But here's what I've learned. Momentum isn't built in those mythical perfect moments. And as parents, we know those moments are few and far in between. It's built in the mess of right now, with whatever you've got on deck, whatever reserve and capacity you have now. That's when you're going to have to make the move. That's when you're going to have to create that shift that says, I no longer want to be in this space and I know I need to make a move. Each step seems too big, but I'm just going to take this small one. One email answered. One corner of the room cleaned, straightened. Maybe the kids' room straightened, cleaned. Maybe you tackled the kitchen. Everything looks good, smells good. You changed your lounging gear. You're not just wearing sweats and t-shirts, whatever. Change up your hairstyle. These small things These aren't just small things. They may seem like just, oh, okay, how is that going to create a dent in what's, really overwhelming me? But let's think of them as acts of faith, right? We have to believe that what we're going to do is going to end up into something bigger, something better. It's sort of saying, I'm still here. I'm still trying. I haven't given up. I can still do this. And God sees every single step that we do, whether we think it's small or large, especially the small ones, especially the small ones, the insignificant ones. Real progress isn't always dramatic and very obvious. Sometimes it's so quiet, you might not even recognize it as progress till you step back and sort of think about where you started and then look at and compare that to where you are. We really have to stop being so very hard on ourselves and our increments of success and progress, because an increment is an increment. And we show ourselves the mercy to say, you know what? That is a step better than yesterday. I did something different than yesterday. I'm one step closer than yesterday, last month, this week. But every time you choose to take one small step forward instead of staying stuck, just succumbing to the overwhelm and the chaos, you're proving to yourself something very important. You haven't given up on yourself. We very rarely give up on others, but we give up on ourselves so fast. Why? How are we going to serve, help, love, care for anyone else if we have not taken the time to respect ourselves? And that is everything. The day will come when you look back and realize that all those small steps, those things you thought were insignificant or too small to really put a dent in your progress, you realize that they carried you along the entire way. They compounded on each other, and then you arrived. When in reality, we know it wasn't just a poof moment. It was a long time in many cases, but we put in the work. We didn't give up on ourselves, and each step said that. We all know this very truth that you cannot pour from a cup that's cracked and dry. Energy is more than caffeine or motivation. It's your physical strength, your mental capacity, your emotional reserves. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. We're going to say it 1,000 times if necessary until we all start to listen and you look yourself in the mirror and say, protecting my energy is vital and a necessity. It's saying I matter enough to tend to the parts of me that keep me going. I respect and love God enough to matter about what happens to me. That might mean setting boundaries you've avoided. Someone thinks that they can call you any time of the night, or they can come maybe into your office and interrupt you whenever they get a whim. You've set yourself, set your hours, set your, what you find acceptable. Or people think that they can ask you for favors whenever they are in need, but then somehow they can't reciprocate. People think they need to be able to call to contact you and ask you for advice, which is all these things are fine. I'm not saying that they're not, but you have to get to a point where what's an acceptable amount, a degree, that's all up to your own discretion. So if you're the go-to person, but sometimes you may not feel like being a go-to person. Sometimes you may be having an off day, and you need to be able to have that boundary set so that people respect your space, respect your time and energy. Saying no without an essay of apologies or explanations. That's a big one for many people. Just saying no or declining respectfully. No, I'm sorry, I can't make it tonight. Or I won't be able to come to tonight's event. Or making space for a break, a nap, instead of squeezing in one more chore. If you're working on an assignment and we have that feeling, oh, I need to finish this, let me get it done, or you might be in a groove, get to a point. But if you feel that you need to take a break, take the break. Because pushing through doesn't mean you're going to get it done any better. You're not going to be sharp. Your body won't be focused on what it needs to focus on. You don't have to run yourself into the ground to prove your worth. You're proving your worth for what? Even if, let's say you started a new job and you want to really make a great impression You want to make this deadline. Maybe you created the deadline. You want to get something in early. You want to do something different. You want to change one of the policies or procedures that's happening there. And you want to show that you have that initiative, that forethought. Those are wonderful. But if it means that you're going to run yourself into the ground to do it, you need to stop and pause and reflect and really get yourself back on track and ask yourself, what am I doing? If I'm not healthy, I'm not going to make this. It's not going to be worth anything. Every time you protect your energy, you protect your ability to show up the next day. Think about it like that if you have to. Every time you listen to your body when it needs a reset, when it needs to rest, when you need to reserve that energy, think about it as you're protecting your energy so that you can show up tomorrow. The resting doesn't make you less productive. It's making you last longer. It's giving you the ability to be a part of what you're trying to be a part of. This leads me right into our recovery. Here's something that you need to know right from the beginning. Rest is not laziness. And I'll say it until I don't need to say it anymore. It's not something you have to earn. God built rest into the rhythm of creation itself. The cycle of day and night, seasons of growth, and then seasons of dormancy is woven right into how we're designed as human beings. It's a part of our innate makeup. Recovery isn't a reward for good behavior. It's what makes having a tomorrow possible. You understand? There will be no tomorrow if you don't recover. And as you close out today, think about it in this way. I want you to resist the need to, or you close out the next day, I want you to resist that need that we have to start going down the list of what we didn't accomplish that day, what we didn't get to finish that day. I do it myself as well. We have this list. I think it's just naturally how the mind works because we're always trying to problem solve. So for us, that's a problem to solve that we didn't get it done. But I want you to refrain from focusing on it as that negative. You didn't finish. So instead, ask yourself, what's one thing that I handled today that I can feel good about? Maybe you stayed patient when your child had a meltdown. Maybe you sent the text you've been avoiding. Right? Maybe that was an accomplishment. Has been weighing on you for whatever reason. Maybe you just survived a hard day with your heart still intact, with your mind still intact, unscathed. It's okay. Those are accomplishments. Remember those small pieces. You're not measured by your unchecked to-do list. You're not measured by those things that you didn't get done. You're measured by the intentions you brought and then whatever you could manage. That's it. Rest isn't giving up. It's lifting up. It's every time you allow yourself to pause, to breathe, to just have a moment, you're not falling behind on any schedule whatsoever. You're not failing in any way, shape, or form. You're preparing yourself, though. You're preparing to show up again tomorrow, God willing, and you'll show up again and again until you can't show up anymore. That's the real victory. That's the real success. Success isn't always the completion of it all. It could be the process in between, the progress made along the way, the real victory in and of itself. It's the you not giving up and noticing that there are ways to continue to keep going. There are ways to accomplish everything around you and still care for yourself. God willing, tomorrow is waiting for you, and you'll be able to meet it so much better when you've given yourself permission to recover and rest from today.